like to call up Marvin Jeffcoat. Marvin Jeffcoat is the past commander of the Queens County VFW. He enlisted in the United States Army in August 1984 and retired from active duty as a sergeant first class in 2004, during which time he served in the Persian Gulf in combat operations during Operation Desert Storm. He is an honored veteran of the New York State Senate Veterans Hall of Fame and a member of the Sunnyside GOP Club. He is currently employed by the New York City Department of Health, Mental Hygiene as a facilities manager. Let's welcome Commander Jeffcoat.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad that Phil did the introductions because that way, if I leave anybody out, it's his fault. So thanks, Phil. I'm glad that Grant Lolly's here because hopefully he's going to be somebody that can do something about what I'm going to speak about. All right. So we're gonna all get behind Grant and get him elected so that he can take our message to Washington D.C. and make sure we get back to the principles that made this country great. And when you look at the current VA scandal, it's endemic. It's a systemic problem, and it's why our veterans are dying when they come home from the battlefield. And what I'm talking about are three things that every politician should keep in mind and every citizen should respect. And before I go into those three things, I'm gonna say something I said last night. Every politician, every elected official, every candidate should have a healthy fear that the people he or she is speaking to are gonna riot if they don't do the right thing. You look at our Second Amendment rights being eroded, ladies and gentlemen, if we lose the Second Amendment, we lose the whole Constitution. So, I don't know where you stand on firearms, but it's not a privilege that you use to go out and hunt with. It's for you to keep the government in check. That's exactly why it was put in there. I understand we have some Federalists. That's exactly why it's in there. And in this state, in this city, it's sad that I'm a combat veteran. I could probably teach a lot of people in NYPD how to not only handle a weapon safely, but to hit what you're shooting at. But I got to go through an arduous process just to get a premise permit. That's just wrong. But to get back on topic, the three things that our elected officials are not doing that we're going to ensure in the Queens County GOP, and I'm sure you're with me because we're going to start from the grassroots up. We're going to select candidates and we're going to tell them, you have to respect, you have to have fidelity to the Constitution. You have to believe in a strong national defense, and that starts from the streets of your neighborhood throughout the rest of the world. And you have to believe in the principles of economic prosperity, life, liberty, and the way it was originally written, the pursuit of property. That's your personal right. The government has to get out of our lives. However, when the government does have a charge, they have to meet it. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution says the government will provide for needful things. They failed to do that, but they've created all these welfare programs and domestic spending that need to be eliminated because they take the focus off of the needful things we need, like a strong military. You look at the so-called Clinton peace dividend, that's another reason why we're in the shape we're in. And our Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and Coast Guard has been reduced to a pre-World War II size. I don't know if you ladies and gentlemen know what that means, but we're very vulnerable right now. And in the boot, we don't have the infrastructure to take care of our men and women when they come home from the battlefield, and that's why you have the tragedy that we had out in Phoenix. That's why you have 40 veterans die waiting to see a doctor. And then you have the VA lying about it. Because when you have a situation where elected officials don't have fidelity to the Constitution, they don't believe in national defense, and they don't believe in economic prosperity, when they don't envision all those things and they don't operate that way, you have a lack of accountability. And what happens is the game is rigged to cheat. And the good folks burn out or they quit and they leave. And then inefficiency and incompetence takes over. And that's exactly what's happening in the VA today, and bless you, Leanne, and throughout our government. That's a direct result of the Clinton peace dividend. The end result is an inefficient delivery of service. And we've got to stop that. We've got to start holding these people accountable. I don't know if you all know that if a VA official finds a way to so-called save money, like let's say reduce the amount of doctors we have, lessen veteran service, and go on the cheap like what they want to do at St. Albans, and reduce the size of that building, that person actually gets a bonus in their pocket. I mean, that's an invitation to theft and graft. That's got to end. That practice has got to end so that these people are doing what they're supposed to do on behalf of veterans. We're going to talk about vouchers and outsourcing. And my initial reaction was, how dare they? Because Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says that they're supposed to provide this service. But I had a talk with my good friend Frank Weldon, and you know what? I agree with him. Until they can do what they're supposed to do, every veteran that needs to be seen should get a voucher to go out and see a private physician immediately. The competition that we're going to face is an inadequate Army and an inefficient VA. So they need to be forced to be more competitive, and they need to have a reduction in salary. Every veteran that goes out on a voucher, that should be a reduction in somebody's salary for substandard performance. So I'm going to touch on a bit of a story before I end, because I was told I have 15 minutes, and my wife made sure I brought notes, so I'm not going to go over. All right? But, you know, the myth that the government cannot do something effectively is an insult to every man and woman that's ever been in battle. I can take a young private, 17, 18 years old like I was when I joined, less than 6 months in the Army, and train that young infantryman to fire his machine gun from 1,000 meters away and put it in the aperture within 1 to 2 feet of my face while I throw a grenade in that aperture. If I can get to that level of proficiency and have that same trust in that young soldier 6 months in, the VA can do its job too. That same young soldier, that young paratrooper, he's got the same confidence in me, that when I inspect his parachute, I inspect the aircraft, and I order him to exit the aircraft, and I jump out and lead him in that airborne operation, that there's a certain standard of proficiency that we've trained to. So it's an absolute myth that the government can't do something efficiently. The VA, President Barack Hussein Obama, and all the rest of these politicians owe the veterans of this country the same standard of proficiency in healthcare. If the VA medical system, and you have your good days and your bad days, but if the VA medical system is an example of what the rest of our society is in for, God help us all. Because this one piece of legislation that's not turned around has made Ayn Rand's worst nightmare come true. And those of you who read know what I'm talking about. God bless the United States, but we will not get back to the level of proficiency and greatness until we rid this country of corrupt politicians like Barack Hussein Obama. So Bo Bergdahl, he's back home, and whatever's going to happen to him is going to happen to him. I understand there's some controversy about whether or not he should be tried for desertion. And let me share something with you also, ladies and gentlemen. The difference between desertion and AWOL is 30 days. In a time of war, desertion is a death penalty offense, all right? But we can't let the fact that this young man has been reunited back here with his family in the United States take the focus away from what this administration has done, not only to our veterans, but we know they don't like us. We're less than 1% of the population by design. And that brings to something else. I understand Councilman Drum thinks that ROTC is a breeding ground for warmongers. And I got one message for him, all right? And this is my message. Where does this idiot get off? And who does he think is going to defend his right to be stupid if we get rid of ROTC in our military? I mean, these people don't think. They don't think. So I want to thank you for your time, and anything I can offer in the way of my experience and my guidance with the veterans issues, I'm more than willing to answer any questions. And Phil, thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marvin. We're gonna have a Q&A session after all three speakers, and we'll leave plenty of time for everybody to ask questions or air their concerns.